But because he's compared to Saitama, he just seems like a jobber.
Yeah. He'll literally always technically be number 2. I guess unless they go further into why Saitama's the way he is. Oh, one thing to continue with Indiana Jones. So the girl, I forget her name in the movie, which goes to show how great of a character she was. Her name's Phoebe something or other in real life. Anyway, the girl. There's a scene, I forget who's talking, but she's talking about herself, and she literally says, like, almost quote for quote, she says, well, that's why I'm so smart and beautiful. Like, she says that almost those exact words. Obviously, it's a little quite less on the nose, but she says something along the lines of, oh, they like me because I'm so elegant, smart, and beautiful. And she doesn't say it. It's not a joke. It's literally like, I'm so beautiful. And I'm like, bro, part of like...
I'm glad you're talking about this movie because now I'm never, ever going to see it.
I
didn't want to see it, now I'm never going to see it.
Here's the best part. There are literally at least 2 times, maybe 3 times, where they purposefully have... And this is when I knew that it was the self-insert of some producer or writer. Where, because this girl... She's an average-looking girl in real life. Like, she looks fine. I'm not here to... I'm an average-looking person as well. I'm not saying I'm Ryan Gosling. But she's not like Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman. She's not like, oh my god, this lady's so beautiful, right? There are 2 scenes, if not 3, where, like, very, very handsome guys, like, literally stop and essentially... You know that thing where, like, guys stop and pull down their sunglasses and go, like, damn! Essentially, there's that exact thing that happens twice. One of them's a group of guys who are just like, they look over at her and are like, they might as well have said, hubba, hubba.
We're just getting to the point where, like, Hollywood is overcompensating so hard with gender roles that it's just creating the opposite problem. Instead of every, like, protagonist being, like, a super competent white male, and now it's just, like, if you're a female lead, you are, like, flawless. And
literally.
You're loved by everyone, you have no flaws, you can do anything. It's like, that's boring in its own way, too.
And I feel bad for the actresses, because you do what's written. Like, Daisy Ridley, the person who plays Rey, should not get hate for being Rey. She does what's written on the page. Like, she's not like Harrison Ford back in the day where he could be like, I'm changing this script. That's not how it works anymore, you know? So, one more, Trev. So there's a scene where they're on a boat, and one of Indy's oldest friends is on there, and the bad guys get on the boat, and they kill one of his oldest friends and all of his crewmates, right? And they get away because Girl Boss sneakingly threw dynamite in the boat, and they got away. And like, they're driving away in the other boat, and she's like, hey, what about that dynamite thing? Hey, yeah, how about that? And Indy's like, one of my best friends just died. And they take like 15 seconds before essentially they're back to being like, oh yeah, we got this thing. So like literally like all this stuff is happening, and he's like, one of my best and oldest friends just died. He had 4 crew members in the peak of their lives that just died, and she's like, remember when I threw that dynamite?
At least Indy got mad.
You know that Harrison Ford added that. You just know.
Yeah.
Because of how, I wouldn't say that normally, but with how many times he added stuff to movies, I'm just like, that's guaranteed what happened. Because it was like, and it was a famous person, I don't know if you ever heard about him, Antonio Banderas. He's like in his 60s now, and I don't know if he was in older indie movies or not, I kind of forget, but like, he's a well-known actor and all that stuff. And all of his friends just got killed like unceremoniously. And she's like, how about that dynamite? So yeah. I remember that, and I was like, boy, this is just so weird. Oh, and then the very next scene, they're in Sicily, and that's when she like gets like a falafel or something like that, and is checking out like a bunch of guys. And like, I granted, it's not 2 minutes later in real time, but it's like several hours, a day later. There's like no, wow, I can't believe the things that I set into motion caused people to die. There was never that moment. And Indy didn't even want to, like... Indy was like, this thing that we're going after deserves to be in a museum. And the whole reason everything happens is the girl's like, hey, can I see that? She knew Indy in the past. Like, Indy knew her as a kid. And she steals the thing and goes to take it and sell it out on, like, the black market. So, like, all these people are dead because of her. And there's never a single moment where she's like, that'd be nice to, like, oh, wow, I can't believe I caused this, right? Never a single moment of that.
Another one that I really hate is, did you watch the Mulan remake?
No, that's too much for me.
They changed Mulan's backstory from her being a very competent female in, like, a male-dominated world.
No, I'm going to even stop you there and say she was not competent.
Well, to
begin.
She ended up being very
competent.
But
yes.
They changed the backstory in the remake that she literally just has superpowers.
It's like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, right? Like, literally like that. Oh!
I jumped...
like 1 second too
early.
1
second too early, and I had to do this fight again.
Yes, I saw that. And I think the greatest part of Mulan, I think it was 2020, which Disney's so lucky COVID happened and they didn't release that in theaters, because that would have been like a huge bomb. My favorite part is that the parts that they filmed in China were like right near a Chinese concentration camp. Not for Chinese people, it was for like Muslim people or something like that. And I apologize for not knowing the whole part. It's been a couple years, but it's like, wow, at the very least, like,
stay classy, Disney.
Yeah, at the very least, this great movie, like, helped China, our, like, #1 biggest enemy. Like, that's super great. So yeah, I don't get it. I don't like movies where the guys are like super strong the whole time.
Yeah.
But honestly, there's not as many of those as there are girl boss movies nowadays.
Oh no, like I said, Hollywood is overcompensating so hard.
Even in a movie called The Terminator, the Terminator is super freaking strong. He doesn't stop until you're dead, right? But they're able to kill him. They're able to stop him, right? And in Terminator 2, the same thing is jobbed by another Terminator, right? Literally, a thing called the Terminator, or I think he's called T-1000, or is he the T-800? I forget.
I think the T-1000 is the new Terminator.
The new Terminator, got it. But, like, he's literally jobbed by another one, and even he has to go through, like, wow, I'm literally the strongest thing ever, but there's something stronger than me. That's what people like. Like, people like that.
The T-800...
T-800, that's it.
The Arnold, can't do anything about the T-1000. It's just, like, getting away.
And people like that! They like when people overcome stuff! And it's like, nobody I've ever heard, ever in my mind, ever questioned, like, for Terminator 2, which I think is both one of Trevor's and my favorite movie. James Cameron is awesome, except for Avatar. Nobody was ever like, oh, the T-1000, there's a stronger one? That's a little suspect. It's like, no one ever questioned it. It's like, there's just something stronger, right? Like, nobody ever questioned it. I don't know, it wasn't, if that girl wasn't so obnoxious in it. Oh, by the way, you can die here.
Yeah, I know.
But no, I meant that to the YouTube.
Yeah,
YouTube
but
audience.
like this is like such a cheap shot.
Oh, at least they say something.
But as long as if you only have like 2 spaces left, it's really dicey. But if you're able to attack him each time he breaks one of those things, it's not too bad.
But yeah, besides that, the thing that sucks is the first 20 minutes or so is a flashback scene to World War II, and they use the visual deconstruction CGI on Indy, and it's not bad. And the beginning of it, the whole flashback part is awesome. I was like, wow, this is classic Indy. This is going to be awesome. And then immediately after that, they flash forward to the present, which is like 1969, and he's in like this dingy apartment in New York. He's literally shirtless, which he looks good for being like 80 years old, but he's like shirtless. He puts on like a wife beater. The first thing he does is he goes over to his neighbor's apartment and knocks and bangs on the door and is like, "You're being too loud," like because they're playing Beatles or something, 1969, and I'm like, cool, like, way to let just somebody like there's a way to make him like angry without making him be. Oh, and they show you divorce paperwork. His wife was divorcing him at the time. And later you find out that his son, who I think was Shia LaBeouf in Crystal Skull, enrolled in Vietnam and was killed. And I was like,
that sucks.
I was like, that's so unnecessary.
I think Crystal Skull was all about.
You don't have to have Shia LaBeouf in it. You can just say like, I have my disagreements with him, and I wish I could be with him again, right? But literally, they have to be like, oh, we got divorced because he went to Vietnam because he hates me and then he died. What? It's like not even it wasn't necessary to the part. You can be like, I'm getting divorced. My son hates me. You don't have to also be like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
He went to Vietnam and he died.
That's like the opposite of what they did with Force Awakens, where it's like Han Solo, when he's 70, is the exact same person as he was 40 years ago.
That's equally as depressing.
Yeah.
In a different
like,
way.
They just did the complete opposite, but it's like almost the same like result.
Like,
anyway,
what?
Amy route.
Yeah, sorry.
I mean, you can keep.
I just. It's like I will say one thing, and this is true. I don't always have my opinions are sometimes not with the standard mainstream. I liked Crystal Skull to an extent. People just absolutely hate it. I really did not like Force Awakens when it came out. I watched it and I was like, wow, this is so derivative of A New Hope, Episode 4. I was like, there's nothing new. I literally did not enjoy it. And obviously people really enjoyed it. It made almost $3 billion. It's one of the top 5 most making money movies of all time. But nowadays, in 2023, in general, the statement has come more to my side of things of like, actually, it really wasn't that good.
People just hate every single one of them. The sequel trilogy is like almost as hated as the prequel trilogy, if not more.
This is an unpopular opinion, but of the sequel trilogy, my favorite is Last Jedi, because at least it does something different.
It does something different.
It's not
that movie is a mess.
It's not a great Star Wars movie, but it's a pretty good like movie, except for the part where they're on that casino part. That was like 45 minutes they could have just cut out.
They could have made the movie about 2 hours long instead of being almost 3 hours.
Oh, this Indiana Jones movie is 2.5 hours long.
It's just
2.5.
Stop making movies 1 billion hours long. There's no point. It just blows the budget.
There were 3 chase scenes, and I didn't time them, but had to be 15 minutes long. And a couple people I was listening to earlier on YouTube, because I waited to form my opinion until I saw but they were like, these chase scenes are so long. I was like, oh, thank God. I felt like a Zoomer with like ADD, being like, why is this chase scene so long? But it really was. It was like the longest scene in Uncharted, the video game, ever. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, I just don't understand why every like movie thinks more is better. It's like, no.
Oh, they could have cut out one of the chase scenes and made it a solid 2 hours long, and I think it would have worked so much better. That's why. Oh, the biggest example, Trev, you'll never see this movie, but I saw the Little Mermaid remake with the family, and I thought it was fine. Like, it was fine. But my biggest complaint with it, besides the scuttlebutt being one of the worst things I've ever heard in my entire life, did you have a chance to did anyone ever play that song for you?
Is it some new song in the remake?
Yes, there are two new songs. One is a song by Prince Eric, which is very, as the kids would say, mid. And one is a rap by Aquafina, is that all I have to say?
That is horrible.
It's a Jamaican-style Caribbean rap. It's 2 minutes long, 2 minutes on the dot, and it feels like it's 7 minutes long. Like, you start the video and you're like, oh, 2 minutes flat, okay. And you press the video to see how far it is, and you're like 45 seconds in, and you're like, no, this is impossible. This song's 10 minutes long.
I don't even want to hear it.
It's a rap by Aquafina, who's the new seagull character, who essentially... have you ever seen the original Little Mermaid?
Yeah.
It's the character, for anyone out there, that essentially tells Ariel what's going on in real life, in the human life. But the funny thing about the original is that the seagull gets everything wrong. Like, is like within the realm of possibility, but gets it wrong. Like she says that, or he says in the original that a fork is used for your hair, like it's like a comb, you know, and that's funny. My biggest complaint about that Little Mermaid movie is, and I want to make sure I get this exactly correct. It is. Let's see. How long is it? It is 2 hours and 15 minutes long. 2 hours and 15 minutes long for the Little Mermaid remake. Are you freaking kidding me?
How long
It's
is the
a
original?
kids
Like,
movie.
Is it like
All
90
right.
minutes?
Dude, get ready for this. Get ready for this.
82 minutes.
The original. I hate Google sometimes. The original is 83 minutes
Ooh, I was
long.
1 minute off.
83. That's an hour 23. That means that this new Little Mermaid remake adds an hour. An hour.
You know what it also adds? Like $200 million in budget. I think it does have like a $200 million budget for a stupid Little Mermaid remake.
And it looks, and I'm not one, I play mostly retro games.
Mogged by Avatar 2.
Yeah, seriously. I play mostly retro games and don't watch a lot of new movies, but it looks awful. Like, the CG looks awful. The underwater stuff looks awful. Dude, the original Little Mermaid, it's amazing that it's 83 minutes long. Think of how much happens in that movie, right? It's the perfect screenplay.
All killer, no filler.
All killer, no filler. And the new one is all filler. How do you make a remake of a movie and make it an hour longer?
You just add 30 minutes of horrendous jokes, probably.
I saw it with the kids, and by like the halfway point, especially Luna, who's 6, was like super antsy. And I'm like, this is a kid. Who is this made for? Is this made for kids, or is this made for Disney moms? Like, who is this made for?
All those remakes are made for Disney moms. It's 100% for Disney.
Yeah,
moms.
I feel like they're not. I feel like they're not.
Who
made
even
for kids.
cares about any of the live-action remakes? The Lion King made like $1.5 billion.
$1 billion. Yeah.
Who talks about the Lion King remake? Only people care about the animated one.
The only time that people...
Who cares about the... Do you even remember the Beauty and the Beast remake? The one that stars the Harry Potter girl?
Here's a better one.
No one cares about it
Do
anymore.
you remember the Jungle Book live-action remake?
Yeah.
The only reason I remember that is we sell Blu-rays at the store and we get it in once in a while. That's the only reason. And, like, nobody's asking for this stuff. Who are they being made for? Why are they so freaking long? I thought that I had an unpopular opinion of Beauty and the Beast is my favorite Disney movie. I just think it's awesome. I love Gaston's like my favorite character of all time.
I think a lot of people think that.
What's that?
The animated Beauty and the Beast being the best Disney movie.
I didn't know that until I watched some like...
It's either that or Lion King.
It's usually that, Lion King, or Little Mermaid from what I see. But, like...
My personal favorite's Aladdin.
And there you go. Here's another one of me being... And Aladdin's definitely top 5. Like... I keep questioning myself when I'm like, why don't I like these characters who are girl bosses? And I'm like, wait a minute. My favorite Disney movie is freaking Beauty and the Beast, who is literally about a freaking woman who, like, starts out... She's never really weak, but she gets stronger as she goes on. She literally leaves... People forget this, but she literally leaves Beast's castle. Beast is never like, you have to stay there. At some point, she leaves, and Beast saves her from the wolves and everything. And she could have left again, but she's like, no, I see something in him. Like, there are arcs you can make for these movies, people, or video games, or whatever. Like, it's like Last of Us 2. I like Last of Us 1 because everyone had an arc. Like, Ellie was super annoying at the beginning, but by the end, she was very redeemable. And you could see by, like, the fall or winter part in the game of, like, wow, I can see how Ellie is Joel's, like, I don't know what word I'm looking for. Not replacement daughter, because that sounds bad.
Surrogate daughter, maybe?
Surrogate daughter. Yeah, there we go. That's better. But, like, in Last of Us 2, for what reason would Joel ever have of being like, Ellie, you're my surrogate daughter? Like, I would just be like, peace. I've tried.
Yeah,
like,
Ellie, like, devolves horribly and then Joel dies. Great legacy.
Yeah, super. I remember I was so excited for Last of Us 2. I was like, how has it been so many years? And now it's been 3 years since Last of Us 2, and I'm like, you don't have to make another.
Yeah, who cares about the franchise?
Like, if they announced one, I would play it because I would just have to see, but I'm not, like, excited for it, you know? I'm not like, oh, I need to know what happens. I really hope when they come out with the season 2 of the show that, like, whoever plays Abby in real life, I really hope they don't get, like, any hate, because, like, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Like, you can dislike the character, but, like, the person who mocapped her was, like, getting, like, death threats and stuff, and that is, like...
You're just playing a character that you got paid to play as.
I literally can't even think of something more unacceptable. Like, grow up. Like, I dislike the game too, but what the hell? Are you going on the... Oh, I thought that was the egg carrier. I was like, are you going on the egg carrier already?
We are going to the egg carrier.
Like, right now?
Yeah.
Damn.
Amy's thing is only 3 stages long.
Oh, that's not so bad, though.
And the 3rd stage is, like, completely pointless.
Beast. But yeah, I don't get it, and the rumor floating around is that Disney's looking to sell Star Wars, which you're like, good. But apparently, at least the rumor from decently reliable sources,
who's gonna buy it, though?
One of the few people that can actually afford to buy it, and the first thing that people come to mind is, oh, George Lucas will buy it back. They don't think it's going to happen. Essentially, the #1 runner right now, if that happens, is this, like, Saudi oil baron, and it's like, okay, so that's also bad, because that would go from, like, super girl boss to, like, the exact opposite, which we don't want. Where it's like, okay,
yeah, who even knows
only male characters,
but
females just in the background. Like, no one wants that. Like, why can't we find a middle ground?
I would rather an oil prince buy Star Wars than Amazon.
Yes.
Do not give Amazon things. You saw what they did to Lord of the Rings. Don't let them do it. It'll be even worse than Disney.
I literally cannot believe they spent $1 billion United States dollars on that season. $1 billion. Do you know the things
the
that
producers
can be
of that
done
show,
with $1 billion?
Yeah, the producers of that show had to have pocketed like $50 million apiece just for existing there. It had to have been just money, like a money scam.
Dude,
where do you even spend $1 billion on something like that?
You could spend $1 billion. And I know this is most sports ball, but you could spend $1 billion on, like, a really, really, really nice all-purpose stadium in a city, like a football / soccer / concert venue, whatever. Like, that's how $1 billion is, if that makes sense. Like, you go to, like, a new stadium, you're like, oh my god, just imagine all the architecture and all the jobs and all the stuff that was put in. You could have that, or you could have a season of Rings of Power. Like, what in the actual heck? And I know some stadiums are, like, more than $1 billion, but you get my general drift of it, where it's like, you could have, like, 2/3 of a all-purpose stadium that can be used 150 days out of the year for events, right? Or you could have one season of some crappy Lord of the Rings show.
Talk about Lord of the Rings, the new Gollum game, the developers behind it instantly went bankrupt.
Oh my god.
Because, it got panned and it sold horribly.
Yeah, I saw that it was coming out, and I never even checked to see if we could, like, order it, and I'm very glad that I did not order it.
The only people that ever asked about it, and the only reason I remember it existing, is the 3 Slow brothers. Do you know who I'm talking about? Or the 3 people that live together. I have no idea what their relationship is.
Oh, Hey Buddy.
Yeah, Hey Buddy.
Hey Buddy, yes.
They talked about it all the time, and then once it finally came out, it's like, hey buddy, do you have that Gollum game? I'm like, no. By the way, that game got like a 40 on Metacritic, by the way. And he was like,
how do they know what Metacritic is?
I just told him that the reviews, I don't think I told him Metacritic. I told someone else about
yeah, the
that.
reviews were bad. It makes it, yeah. Hey buddy.
Yeah, I told someone else about the Metacritic, not them specifically.
Yeah, that's incredible. Oh, speaking of good games, I finally beat RE4 Remake, and I've been playing Hogwarts Legacy, And I am not a big Harry Potter fan. I've never read the books. I've watched the movies one time through. My favorite movies, for what it's worth, are the first two, where it's like all about like fun, like wizardy stuff. Wow, this is like way too fast.
It's really hard. But if you get one of those yellow Sonics, it's 500 points, and we only need 2,000 points. So one thing, if you want all of Amy's power-ups, you have to beat this minigame twice, and the second time is just beating your generic score. So don't score anything more than 2,000 the first time around. There's no reason to. I didn't do it.
So yeah, I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan, but man, what a great job they did of just making this, like, fun world to explore. I'm only, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hours into it, but I'm barely doing any story stuff because I just like going around Hogwarts and, like, experiencing what's there, like, just randomly doing magic on different stuff. It's just super fun. So, like...
Man, I'm getting the worst RNG ever.
I don't understand why more companies can't just make, like, good...
I can't believe this is happening!
Good games like that just, like, respect... Like, it totally respects the Harry Potter world. It takes place 100 years before Harry Potter, but it totally respects the world, and it's like, why can't more things be done for that?
The warrior feather. Now you can
like, Rings of Power did not respect anything Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's mostly just...
Or Tolkien.
When you have a production with such money thrown around, a lot of times they'll get the most soulless producers in the world, and a lot of times they just hate the source material, because for some reason companies do it all the time, where they'll just hire people that specifically hate the IP. It's like...
I don't understand
and I guess they just think that they're going to change it and make it something new, and attract a new audience, but it never works. It just